And Target is the only place you can find them and all their gear. Come join the fun and jam with us.
Love is all you need.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Sin's Chat Corner. I think everybody knows this because they are watching my wall, or I should say the radio show wall. We have two different interviews today, and they happen to be back-to-back, and ironically, they both happen to be clients of Dana Humphreys, who's a dear friend of mine. First of all, we're going to be talking to Janine Berger, and she is, of course, the lead representative and founder of what we call Twigo, and that's Twigo Tags. So we're going to be speaking about that today, which is all about pet identification. Then secondly, we're going to be hosting Jonathan, and he is the founder, of course, of Paw Perks New York City. Very excited to be talking to both of these individuals. Always very excited to talk about any sort of entity or product from my second home, which is New York City. So without further ado, let's get Janine on the line and start talking about her Twigo tags. Is this Janine?
Hello. It
Hi.
is. Hello. Hi, Sin. How are you?
Oh, my gosh, I'm so excited to be hosting you. Anytime that Dana calls me or messages me and she's like, I have a client, I'm like, just book them. It's as simple as that. I'm like, just book them because every one of you is so fabulous. It's all pet relative. Everybody is so knowledgeable and versed in what they do. And you in particular, I'm curious about you. I was excited as I was writing the interview. I'm like, I'm excited to talk to her. So here we both are.
Great.
So thank you. Thank you for doing this. I want to start off, if you don't mind, kind of talking about Janine first, because without Janine, we certainly wouldn't have the Twigo tags to begin with. So we'll do this kind of in two separate entities. We'll start off with you, then we'll head over and we'll talk about the tags and their significance, and then this way people can get a good sense of you and the product itself.
Sure.
Now, as I understand it, you were educated at St. Vincent's College, and I know that you had spent some time working for, and ironically, there's a reason I'm bringing this up, Toys R Us. And I know that you, I believe it's 2011, went back to Toys R Us corporate headquarters. So first off, I was curious if having a background working for a retail toy manufacturer aided or assisted you in your current occupation, meaning as far as the formulation of making these Twigo tags.
Yes, it had a lot to do with it.
Cool.
No
okay,
big surprise,
do
but
tell.
yes.
Really? Okay, go ahead.
Sure. My job at Toys R Us was in product development. So for a good number of years, I was doing sourcing, factory relations, private label licensing for all of the private label brands for Toys R Us. So, and I worked in toys, and I also worked in the babies division at Babies R Us. So I did a lot of textiles, I did a lot of toys, I did a lot of different things. I had a great learning experience and opportunity and growth with them. So, and
wonderful.
Yeah. And while it wasn't as creative as creating a product, but then after I had left there, I went out on my own as a product development consultant and leveraged my contacts and relationships with the factories and kind of went on to the brand side. So I worked for companies like Aiden and A, baby blankets, Doc Brown's baby bottles. I've helped a few startups figure out how to source and manufacture products. So,
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I have a big experience in that aspect.
Just out of curiosity, and again, because I ought to know this, because I've raised two children, and I have two children at home as of yet, and Toys R Us is like in our backyard. It's like our favorite place to go. Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, but they do not, nor have not, carried any kind of pet merchandise, period. Or am I mistaken? I was just curious about that.
Oh, no, they've tried that. I had pulled together a whole product range of dog product for Toys R Us at one point, and we did test that out under the private label brand. And I believe currently Toys R Us actually has a private label stuffed toy program inside of PetSmart.
Really?
So it went the other way now. Yeah.
Oh my God! Look at that! How ironic. Yeah, and the only reason that I asked that, of course, is because I thought to myself, if you were instrumental in terms of product, etc., as it relates to the pet side of things, maybe you had seen in the past other identification tags, etc., and that kind of inspired in part what you've developed now.
No, actually, the toy side, yes. Because on the toy side, because, I was very focused on the toys. And as part of toys or even just working with the babies, what you start to do, originally when we first started product development in Toys R Us, it was really slapping labels on and doing color ranges and pulling programs together, right? And then more and more, and I'd say Target had a lot to do with what happened in the industry, where Target actually started applying designs. And even though it was a functional item, they made it design friendly or fun, or they just applied a layer of fun and function or design and function. And you see that now all over the place.
Interesting. Because I was thinking about this, because I thought to myself, okay, so she came from a platform like a Toys R Us per se, and now she's, of course, branched out and done her Twigo Tags, and they're in different merchandisers and things like that. I was just wondering, oftentimes what happens, and this is no diss on Toys R Us, by the way, but I bring this up oftentimes because I get frustrated. I'm a huge supporter of independent artists and independent this, that, and the other thing. And so what I've noticed is a lot of times when a big corporation will market something for the masses per se, it just appears more, and I know this is probably not the right word, commercialized, but you know what I mean, just more polished, it just lacks authenticity or creativity. Are you following me?
Yes, because what they're going after is the core product, and the core product sometimes doesn't have that, because they're going after how many units can I sell.
Sure, exactly.
Period, full stop.
And that's kind of what I figured. Exactly. That's why I'm kind of starting off by wanting to distinguish the difference, although, yes, you have a great base working through them. And no diss on Toys R Us. Like I said, we're regular ongoing customers, et cetera. I think they're wonderful. But I like the fact that somebody has kind of branched off and said to themselves, you know what, I've developed this, and this. Now I want to try this, and that's absolutely refreshing and wonderful. Another component I want to bring up about you, and yes, I'm a big believer in who you are determines what your product becomes. So this is why I'm giving everybody a nice little background about you. One of the things that's really cool about this woman I'm talking to, and I'm bringing it up for a reason, is I get the sense that you're a very big practicer of alternative medicines, et cetera, meaning I creeped on her Facebook page, kids, and I didn't have long to do that, but I do those things as a journalist. And I've noticed that you're a firm advocate of things such as that, meaning alternative practices, medicine, drum circles, which I think is way cool. I'm thinking to myself, oh, my God, her and I would be lovely on a beach together because I'm a hippie who dances under the sun and I howl at the moon. Tell us a little bit about how finding your own inner peace through things like alternative practice allows you to be more passionate and purposeful about other practices in your own life, such as your business side of things.
Sure. Why I've turned to alternative medicines or even found anything was traditional Chinese medicine, because when you start layering it out, there's some really basic grandma good, what do I want to say, advice, right? And the number one reason that anything, that we have I don't want to use the word disease or illness in our society is so big is because of stress. If you look at anything, doctors are talking about stress, reduce stress, reduce stress, reduce stress. Right. And stress is actually self-inflicted.
Really?
You can... Yes.
You don't say. Doesn't seem that way, though.
And,
my ex-boyfriend jerk. It's me, not you. Sorry.
That's right. Oh, but yeah, it's self-inflicted, and then when you really understand that and take responsibility for it, right? Because you can have a very stressful job, or you don't have to, and you can still be very stressed because you're worrying, you're all kinds of things, and then you turn it inside and go, okay, how can I have peace inside? Even though the world in the outside has to be stressful, how do I go through life being peaceful and being okay? And I have moments of greatness and moments of very low points, because I'm a human being.
Well, of course.
And running a business, so that's not easy either. Yeah. So
Oh my God, yes. Now
don't hit
now
the panic button today.
I don't think people have a tendency to understand that sometimes you have to go outside of yourself and go to and seek out other things that maybe haven't always been in your comfort level, or you haven't always integrated. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago, and like you're saying, the business side of things and all that good stuff. Now, I'm curious to ask this question since I have your ear ready, and you did talk about alternative medicine. I happen to have two questions relative to that. I have a very beautiful child. Well, they're all beautiful, but this one in particular is almost 11 years old, and he is an ongoing seizure patient. And so anytime I get someone on the show, I'm always asking, because I'm his mom, have you heard of any benefit, on the alternative side of things, outside of cannabis, because I already know a little about that, and I'm a huge supporter of that portion, but just things that you might have come across or anything in that regard that you find might be helpful for this little mom here, since I have you here already.
Does he get seizures because of epilepsy?
Oh, we don't like that word.
I know.
He has what they call frontal lobal seizures. So basically, I know very little, and it's sad after 2 years that unfortunately neurologists don't have always the keys that you want them to. So basically, he'll suffer seizures. Sometimes they're visible, sometimes they're not. They're always on the right side, so everything presents on the left side, obviously. And it's a classic, drooling, can't speak, jaw tightened, the whole 9 yards. And they're not long in frequency, but the problem is they're not gone. So until they're gone, we're stuck with traditional medicine. So that's why when I saw this, I thought to myself, I wonder if there's something we could try. Somebody suggested Reiki. Somebody suggested certain things, but it's like, I guess we don't want to harm or freak our child out.
No, and you don't have to. Acupuncture is one of the best ways, honestly. Very, but energetically, you have to find the right practitioner, the right person for your child and yourself. Because 50% is the kid, 50% is you, Mom. Okay. You're responsible too. So is your husband.
Ouch.
Or your partner.
Ouch.
Okay.
Well,
so
my ass.
when you're dealing, sorry, this
That's
is
okay.
Traditional Chinese medicine points the finger back to yourself always, right? You have to look in a family dynamic, right? And you're dealing with kids, especially at his age. He's still young and innocent and full of life and energy, right? That comes back to how does the family work together to accomplish balancing him back out, right? Okay. Because he's in a good position. I feel that he's in a good position as a young, healthy male. He could fix this for himself, right? You got to find the right acupuncturist for yourself and for him. And brain foods. Eat brain foods. Walnuts, big time. Walnuts.
I like that word.
They feed the brain.
Brain foods. Okay.
And bacon fat. Do a little research on bacon fat. Oh, my God, yeah. Now, I've had a friend who's had epileptic fits. I don't know what today's world is calling it, and my sister's dog. Both of them went on to heavy bacon fat diets with big success. Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Okay, I'm making this on this, so we're going to check into this later, because I have a dear girlfriend that's into alternative medicine. I trust her exclusively.
And, call me on the QT outside of this, and I can give you some recommendations.
Got it. Okay, wonderful. Now, next question I have for you, because just so you folks know, another little tidbit about her. First of all, oh my God, she is so darling cute and love your pictures of yourself and your husband. They're so sweet. And they recently traveled to Aruba, so I was curious. I'm like, did you franchise yourself in Aruba while you were there? Because I could just picture this. Like, by the way, since we're here, let me talk to you about Twigo Tags. Just curious.
I totally did.
I knew it.
Unfortunately, those stinking owners were not there at any of the stores. But I had some really great conversations. We and you know what? Going out to some of those stores in Aruba, because they weren't in the center part, where all the tourists were. We got into some of the more local scenes, which was really cool. And we had a fabulous dinner at this fish market. I think they fished and then fed us. It was that fresh. It was so good.
Oh, that's awesome. Absolutely. I've never been there. I've heard some really great things. I haven't had time to travel. I haven't had time to do this or that. So kudos to not only, as I mentioned, I think a lot of how we do business-wise, success-wise, has a lot to do with what goes on in the backstory. And I don't mean backstory in a bad sense, meaning your relationships, your friendships, all that stuff. That rejuvenation time is extremely important. Now, on the personal side of things, just so you folks know, all I noticed about her, because she's semi-private on her page once again, but we're going to bust her out a little bit here. I see that we have mutual likes. We both like Johnny Cash. We both like Adele. And we both are fans of Tribeca Film Festival, and I had to bring up Tribeca because I'm in the running to be a judge for a division of the Tribeca Film Festival. Very excited.
Awesome.
Way excited. Yeah. Well, it's very intimidating. It's scary because you New Yorkers are scary. I mean, New York is like a second home to me, but I was driving around in town yesterday I was rushing to get home to do a show after all this time at the hospital, and I was like, I couldn't get back. There was like obstruction everywhere, and I'm like, this is like being in flippin' Manhattan. You can't get anywhere in 5 minutes in Manhattan. And I'm like, this is just nuts. So as exciting as Tribeca is, like I'm coming back there. My birthday is next week, so I'm going to come and celebrate it after the fact in New York City. So I'll celebrate at home, and then I'll go to New York. And I'm like already dreading to pick a place because I'm just like, if I can't walk, I'm not taking a cab because they scare me too. The subway people are even worse. Subway frightens me. Taxi cabs scare me. I'm like, if I can't walk without a fear of being mugged, we have a problem. So I don't know where I'm going to go. Probably just somewhere with cheap alcohol and jazz. If I can find that would be lovely.
And eat some walnuts.
I'm just throwing that out there. Yeah.
Eat some walnuts. That'll help your fear
so
level.
Funny.
Honestly, New York City is fear and brains. They're the same thing, hon.
Well, the thing is, it takes some balls to live there. Sorry, am I supposed to say that? Wait, it's my show, I can. But it does, and Tribeca is largely known for things. I mean, I absolutely love the film side of things. I'm curious, though, what intrigues you about Tribeca, or is it just film in general?
Well, the first, the area, right, is kind of quiet and tucked away. And during the film festival, you get to go into because there's different venues that participate. Some are films, regular film studios, and some are not.
Right.
So you get go into other buildings and things. And I lived in Europe for a little while, and I went to the Fringe Festival in Scotland, right? And that was a hoot. And we would go I went a couple of times, and that's kind of what triggered me to try out the Tribeca Film Festival. It's not at the same level of entertainment, but it is really a great time. And you get to see all kinds of new flicks, short films, just, people being creative and having a story to tell, whether it's fun or serious. And it opens you up to different things.
Well, right, and I've been very fortunate this last year. I'm starting to get really heavily connected into the independent film circuit a lot more, and so it's neat to watch these independent films. I don't know. You should probably familiarize, and I can send this to you after the fact. There's a guy that did a dog documentary actually, and it had to do with motorcycles, Harley motorcycles. I can't remember it. Please forgive me. Eric Risto is his name for forgetting that. But I'll have to forward you that information. It's a really neat independent film about dogs, et cetera. You'd probably really like it. But here we are going off topic again. Sorry, I do that a lot. Okay, so on the flip side of things, now we know a little bit about Janine, the person. Now let's talk about Janine, the business owner. But before we start talking about Twigo Tags, I think two of the things that I thought would be important for you to talk about, because you're an expert in this area, two big things here, people. July is actually National Lost Pet Prevention Month. And if I'm not mistaken, April is actually National Pet ID Week. So I thought it'd be nice for you to talk a little bit about both of those national holidays. Talk to us a bit about why both of those are so important and why we should be recognizing them on a more regular basis.
Sure. Many people bringing awareness to make certain that our pets are identified, right? We do a lot of today. A lot of the dogs and cats are microchipped, and it's quick, it's easy, now a lot more affordable, if not free, upon adoption. But the one thing, and people stop right there, right? And they just do the chip.
Okay.
And what happens is if your animal gets lost, the only people that actually can read those chips are the veterinarians and the shelters. But me, your neighbor who lives down the street doesn't know the dog. I don't have a chip reader. I can't do anything. Right?
Right.
So it's not a full stop safeguard. I believe that we should be, it's easy, it's safe to microchip, but you also need your regular identification. And those holidays or weeks of celebration, months, whatever, those just bring awareness to the masses to say, hey, do you have an identification? Because I had a dog when I was growing up, and he was a poodle.
Okay.
And he loved to be loose, right? The moment he could find the little avenue to get out the door, boom, he was gone. And he'd be gone for hours. And he'd go, and he would travel a lot, and miles. We would go out looking for him. And the funny thing was, after a while, people got to know who our dog was, but you couldn't touch him because he'd bite you. So that was kind of, but dogs like that, when they want to take off, they're going to take off. And if you've ever had a dog that took off, boom, what do? Right?
Right.
And we were here in Hoboken, New Jersey, during the two floods that happened more recently.
Okay.
Wow.
Yep.
We did not get separated from our dog. We were actually at home with him. But there were several dogs that were separated from their families, where the families couldn't get to the house, and for 3 days.
Okay.
And some dogs freaked out. They got out of the house, they got out of the boom, and they had no identification. That happened in my head just went boom. New Orleans. How many dogs there? Because we don't think about identification inside our house. Well, my dog's an inside dog. He doesn't need a tag. I'm always with him. But then there's these opportunities and these strange things where your animal gets away. Right? Okay. So identification. 3 forms of identification. The most important.
I was just going to say that. Yep.
Your identification tag, and then your local municipality tag, or rabies tag, whatever your local municipality requires you to have.
Well, and one of the things that I find interesting, and that's one of the questions I want to ask about the product itself, because in times past what I've noticed is, and oftentimes most of us who have seen dogs walking or dogs with their owners will notice right off the bat, one of those things that you look for is that jingling sound. You know what I'm talking about? Because you know how those ID tags hang and then you hear the jingling. And then here comes Janine on my show, and she's like, guess what? My product's silent. And all I'm thinking is that a perk? Do you know what I'm trying to say? I know it sounds ignorant, but it's like, wait a minute. I can't hear it jiggling. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I know. And it's quite funny because the world is divided 50-50, right? So, and I'll go back to my stress. So when developing more of a peacefulness at home and inside, noise is a factor for us, right? Now, if you turn it to your dog or even your cat, right, noise triggers behavior. Noise triggers stress.
Got it. Okay, because I'm thinking to myself, it's kind of a catch-22 because isn't the jingling supposed to help us?
Well, for the human,
not be losing them or lose sight them. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to lose your pet. Because you know how sometimes, a cat, a dog, whatever have you, will get rambunctious. They'll start running. They'll start bailing away, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I can hear the clinking or the sound. But in your case, obviously, there's a legitimate purpose for the silence there. And that's what I was curious about. I was like, I really want to know that because that's one thing I have not heard of before is an actual tag for an animal that's silent, that's not making that noise.
Yeah. Well, so what happens is with the jingling on the walks and outside, when people come home, they take off all of everything. They take off the collar, the whole thing, and then the dog has nothing inside the house because they don't want the jingling inside the house. It serves a purpose on the outside, but it doesn't serve a purpose in the inside. It's just annoying. Or you get up in the middle of the night because the dog decided to have a scratch, right? Or the baby wakes up in the middle of her nap because the dog's scratching and walking around with his jingling tags. So that's what happens inside the house. And then all of these strange little things that, the mail lady comes and the dog makes a beeline out the door, or he can't get home and whatever. So having that option to have that silent tag inside the house. Another thing that people don't recognize is dogs that have sound problems, sometimes you'll see them taking food out of their bowl and putting it on the floor somewhere else and eating it. And they go, oh, look how cute that is. But 90% of the time they're taking it out of the bowl because they can't, that clanking noise on the side of the bowl with their food they don't like. And so they put it somewhere else so that they're not dumb. They put it somewhere else so they can eat in quiet.
Right. And that's one of the things that I was thinking about when I was writing this interview was to ask you, because I didn't see in your background, so forgive me if I'm ignorant in this regard, if you took the time to actually study, or some people take classes or are versed in animal psychology or understanding animal behavior, because in order to design a product for a particular animal, you need to have, granted you own, an animal, but you have to understand the means and the reasons why they do what they do, why they behave this way, etc. So do you have any of that education, or have you done anything relative to that?
I've done a ton of research. I would say it's not educational, but a ton of research. I've looked through books and animals, I read a lot, put it that way. And I did talk to a few behaviorists as well. Where my pet, Milu, is a certified therapy dog. So we've gone through all of those training points to get him to be certified. So he actually had to deal with the noises, right? The clanging and the clicking of a wheelchair or of a walker or a stroller or something falling down and things like that. My dog was really good. He was very calm, cool, and collective, right? Even when things fell.
Well, and that's what made him a really dogs have. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. That's what made him a really good candidate for a therapy dog.
Right. Well, and of course, obviously, and I also suspect this company, just so that people understand, it was founded by both yourself and your husband. So, did your husband actually have a vested interest and have his own pet prior to meeting you? Was this something that was a passion of his, or was this kind of your baby and he signed on to do this with you?
Yes, he signed on. Actually, he does he's a millworker. What do I want to say? Cabinet maker by trade, and he works in
nice
in the industry and the construction industry in New York City, and because of that, he's able to do some of my drawings, my industrial drawings. So he helped me with the design and the engineering of the tag in and of itself.
Oh, very cool. Very nice. I like that.
And he's the one that bashes all of my ideas. And he didn't bash this one. So.
And she goes on air and says that. Just by the way, it's my husband that knocks down all my great ideas. But oh well. I want to talk. I want to go on the flip side of things before we actually talk about the product itself and talk about a couple of different things. Obviously, you had a holiday trunk show party, which I noticed that, pre-holiday trunk show party, which I saw. Also, you participated in the Bark in the Park fundraiser, which is to benefit Liberty Humane Society. And also, I noticed that the Twigo Tags were a part of different various contests and giveaways, which I thought was really cool. My question to you is this. How long have you been established doing Twigo Tags? And moreover, how well received has it become? And have you had owners of other pets that have come to you and said, hey, can you develop a product even though it's designed for this particular type of animal?
Sure. I pretty much, I'd say, launched the business last year, December timeframe.
Okay.
So it
right.
takes a while before you launch. And yeah, I had a soft launch, and I've been well received. From my big box training, I'd like more. But I'm like, oh, but we're growing every month. So more stores keep finding us, more consumers keep finding us. The efforts of Dana, she's on TV, she, all of those contests and giveaways, she,
right.
helps integrate them into, what we're doing, our marketing and PR strategies, because nobody knows what Twigo Tag is. And
right.
so we're starting from ground zero. So this past year, this is my second year in business, and this year is my growth business. So
nice.
we participated in a couple of the big trade shows, Global Pet this year,
right.
Super Zoo.
Right.
I made a rookie mistake and registered too late, so I'm not there. But I'll be attending and doing other things. But
of course.
Yeah, and I call it my smile and dial days. I smile and dial and start calling or visiting
That's really,
stores
really cool.
and things. Yeah.
I do. I think that's absolutely awesome. Now, one of these things that I've come to see here, obviously, which I think is nice, when you do the expos and other things, you acclimate yourself and get used to being around fellow connoisseurs, meaning individuals who do obviously other pet products and things like that. Do you think it's possible that you might collaborate or partner with some of these other individual businesses at some point?
I would love to.
Yay.
As a product development person, that's what I do. I can't sometimes shut off the ideas, but having your own business, you got to shut off the ideas because you don't have the money.
right.
The money that it takes to get it to the next point is so right now it's a critical time for Twigo Tags is to how to shift it to grow and nurture. Now is where I need to go. I have a couple items in the product mix, but it's now grow and nurture is the focus.
And you seem to be growing
and I'd love to work with other
notice.
people. Yes.
Right, and the thing is, the nice part about Dana's clients, and I know she'll be listening to this. Dana, if you're listening to this, two things should happen with Janine. First of all, I'm sure, and forgive me if I get this wrong, because I swear that I thought that I had saw either on your Facebook page or somewhere else. I don't know if you know Jorge. Jorge is her client.
Yes.
Jorge Burdensky. Oh, my God, wonderful person to work with. She has, Dana has got a list of clients a mile long that are absolutely wonderful. So hook a girl up, Dana. That means, Janine, you should hook her up with your fellow clients. And then second of all, at some given point in time, you should hook her up with one of my friends who's an independent filmmaker, and then we could just do like a whole movie on all of Dana's clients. Like, here's the pet tag lady, and here's the pet food lady, and blah, blah, blah. I know she's going to kick my ass when she hears this. Oh, I just said that. You can do that on internet radio. So just throwing that out there, Dana, because I know she has nothing to do. I'm kidding. She's going to kick my butt. I love her. But, I just think I think that collaborative networking is always wonderful. I'm so blessed that I get to talk to you today, and then I get to do a film producer next week, and then I get to do the guy from AMC tomorrow. I think cross-networking across the board is absolutely so lovely, and especially when it comes to pet products, because you have a uniform, all of you have just a uniform relatability. If nothing else, because you all have a love and adoration for pets. It's as simple as that. So I think that's neat. I want to talk about something different. We want to switch a little bit because, of course, obviously you have the Twigo Tags website. One of the new components of that, which happened not so long ago, and I want to talk about, is the new blog, which is called Life with Pets. You decided to integrate doing a new blog on your website. So talk to everybody about Life with Pets, what you're going to see on there. Will you take contributions from others? What's that all about?
Yeah, it's just brand new, a couple weeks old. So this is a brainchild between Dana and myself going, how do I start to reach other people? And I do have a lot of information, so I take a lot of that traditional Chinese medicine and I do a twist because our pets also fall under that. And while it's sometimes focused on the pets and sometimes it's just focused on the family. And family dynamics, are changing. Some families have only furry children. Some families have both furry children and regular children. But family's family.
Right.
And sometimes they're single moms and single dads and furry friends. And so, I want to be able to stretch what our definition of family is, because family is really about connecting, right? And
Exactly.
And how do we do that in a relatable way? How do we deal with life with pets? Whether it's with the children, with the pets, how do we integrate that? So my next blog topic is going to be on watermelon. And the great uses for watermelon, especially
you heard
for your
it first here. Talking about watermelon right now. I bet you didn't hear that on anybody else's radio show. Thank you. Score of the day. I just broke exclusive news. Holla! Yeah, and this is without alcohol. Give it a few hours. Okay. But I wanted to make sure that we covered that because that's something obviously that's on there. And I took a perusal through the website, so I want to now focus and talk a bit about obviously the product itself, the Twigo Tags, and some of the different benefits to your identification tags that I've noticed as compared to other particular products. First of all, as we had mentioned, it's silent, and we talked about the benefit of having an actual silent tag on there. One of the components I want to talk about is the fact that it doesn't need engraving because it actually can be pen personalized or actually permanent pen on there. How is that possible? Because I know that a lot of the ID tags that I've seen have either been copper or metal, etc. So how do you get away with that basically, or how does that work?
Sure. We've put a couple coatings onto the back of the rubber silicone tag in order to be able to accept ink. And then when you boil it, it kind of locks it in. Unfortunately, pens fade because ball pens, even if you write on a piece of paper, it fades. But the great thing about it is you just write over it again and boil it again. So it's reusable.
Look at that.
And it takes a while for the ink to fade. So, depending on your activity of your animals and pets, how much swim time, how much sun time it is, it'll vary. But you don't throw it away. You just write on top of it again and rewrite it and put it into the water and boil it again. So it's dead simple.
How wild.
And they're inexpensive. And my whole...
Really?
Yeah, they're $10.
Right.
And
yes, they are $10 according to your website, which I was going to ask about, but now you skipped ahead.
And then
Way
other
to go,
places
Janine.
do sell it a little bit cheaper, and some of them sell them a little bit more expensively. But it's just inexpensive. So I'm trying to reach out to people to say, hey, you need tags for different, how you have shoes for different events? Your pets need different tags. If they're staying, if you're going on vacation and you're leaving your pup to your mom's, do you want the call to your house, or do you want your mom to get the call that your dog's over there visiting the neighbor? So, buy a tag for your mom. It doesn't have to get engraved. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just, buy one, write it on there, and, when the dog goes to your mom's, it has your mom's telephone number and address and whatever else. Same thing if your dog goes to a daycare facility or has a dog walker, right? Put the dog walker's name on there as well as yours.
There's been dog walkers? That's wild. They have dog walkers, really? Because I'm like over here, we don't have that crap. They go walk the dog. Come on.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry about that. But no, I agree with you in terms of that. And one of the interesting things that I wanted to ask about was, because as you had said, that's one thing I wanted to touch on is how affordable it was, obviously. So let everybody know. I know that your product is made of flexible and durable materials. So tell us exactly what it's composed of, the actual ID tag itself.
It's silicone rubber. So very simple, like bakeware, kind of like bakeware.
Ooh.
So, and that's, it's great because the tag will weather, the actual tag itself will weather any kind of storms, whatever. It won't crack, it won't break, it won't, so it's pretty, the rubber is pretty strong.
Okay, now did you
and
have
vibrant,
to research
and the colors
this,
on it will stay.
I was just going to say, did you have to research this yourself prior to doing this, or did you just kind of walk in with that idea, like, we're going to create this, and this is what it's going to be composed of?
Well, because of the flexibility, I really wanted it to be able to self-attach instead of actually using those split rings. I don't know about you, but I can never get those stinking things open, and I always break a fingernail trying to do so.
I understand. I do. I get it.
So I needed the flexibility of rubber to be able to loop itself around and be able to pull without, breaking and or falling apart or sticking up. Some of the other plastics that I had tried out wasn't flexible enough, and it stuck out and hit the dog's chin. So that wasn't actually something that could. So we did do a number of tests on different types and the rubber was the best one.
Okay.
So, but it also left us with a little bit more of a challenge because nothing writes on silicone.
And of course, you can, as you have mentioned, you can attach it to the actual O-ring, any kind of O-ring on a collar. You can automatically just attach it right there, which is more easy, and flexibility and accessibility is easier. Ever had any worries or concerns, or do they normally test this first as far as, animals having a reaction to the tag, et cetera, rash, blah, blah, blah? Because sometimes people and animals can get allergic to things.
Well, silicone rubber is used in medical devices. And this is the kind, there's no lead, there's no phthalates, there's no BPA in there. So even if the dog ate it for lunch, it would just poop out.
Not that it would, but if it did.
Well, I don't know.
That would actually.
There are dogs that eat lots of things.
Very cute. Very, very cute. So now my other question, and this was like the first question I came up with when I was listing all these benefits, I'm like, does it glow? Do they glow? Can you make them glow? Because I thought that'd be cool, as if they glowed.
It would be really cool.
Glowed, wouldn't it? But they don't do that. You're going to tell me no, aren't you? See, you're taking all the fun.
I'm going to tell you no.
That
actually,
sucks.
the silicone business is actually starting to get into a glow-in-the-dark. So we made, or maybe not a glow-in-the-dark, but a fluorescent color. So we may start to test a little bit on that.
Interesting. And that's actually not a bad idea. And I'm not just saying that because I like the idea, but truth be told, I think a lot of times I'll see people outside with their dogs, et cetera, or animals, pets, whatever, and people aren't always very cautious. My God, I'm out with my children and they're not even cautious. I'm like, I think my kids should wear a glow bracelet or band or whatever. But, I mean, intricately speaking, it's probably for some people it's just a better idea to have a product that actually shines or glows or resonates or whatever, even if it's just a reminder of, hey, keep it slow it down, et cetera, and that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
And it's more identifiable. But what do I know? I'm not in the pet business. I'm in the entertainment business. So I know nothing. So we're going to go through a couple quick things, and then our time with Janine is up because, I have to have time for Jonathan and his pet product. Look at that.
Absolutely.
She's pushing me like cattle. Client 1, Client 2, Client 3. I'm nothing but amused. I really enjoyed this time. Didn't it go fast, too?
It really did
it's
go
like
fast.
I start yapping. Right? We're almost at 50 or 45 minutes. It's like, you know what? It goes quick, doesn't it? But, I mean, how many 45-minute interviews will you have in your life, right?
Not too many.
Thinking, hell, I don't even want to know this girl. Before I forget, I want to point this out to people, just so you guys know this, because I have a question relative to this. But first, let me go through the ways that you can be found, meaning you, Janine. She has a personal Facebook page. Her name is being Janine, and the last name is spelled Berger. There is also a Facebook page for Twigo Tags, and Twigo is spelled Twigo. You also have a Pinterest account. You can also be found on YouTube, and the actual website itself is www.twigotags.com. And let me read these off to you, the different ways that you can actually purchase the Twigo Tags. You can go to wholesalepet.com, go to rovers.com. Oh, sorry.
Those are wholesalers. If you're a store, you can buy from there.
Darn it. Amazon.com?
Amazon, a consumer.
Okay.
Amazon's doing very well with those. I'm very impressed.
I can tell you this much. You can go to Pupcakes or Fetch Rhode Island or Chow Bow Wow. Those are correct. You can go there. And just out of curiosity, to let the listening audience know, if by some chance there happens to be someone listening, let's say Wisconsin or other states, etc., and they're interested in carrying the product or interested in vending the product, is that a viable option? Can they do that? And if so, how?
Absolutely. They just email us at twigotags.com.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And then you get to talk to Janine, and hopefully she won't yell at you. I think she hates me. She was mean to me this last 5 minutes. She's never coming on my show again, Dana. Just, what can I say? No, absolutely. It has been absolutely my pleasure to be hosting you, actually. I have taken a look at your tags. Unfortunately for me, I do not own a dog at present, and I say that only because between traveling and all my commitments, it's just I feel like I would not be a great pet owner from a dog perspective. Dogs take so much more work. I have a cat that I've only had for a year, and I feel bad that a lot of times Jem just doesn't get a lot of time. And I actually had one more question relative to that. And you may not know the answer to this. I've never thought of IDing the cat because, for one, we don't let her out. She was actually kenneled for a year in this cage, and then we took her, and it took like 4 months for her finally to get comfortable. Now I can't get rid of her. I mean, she's on top of me constantly, which is not a bad thing. But what I was wondering was how efficient it might be to slap maybe an ID tag like that, if she'd allow me to, because she's a cat. She keeps going in my window. She keeps, pawing at the door. She wants to go outside. And I thought about this, and I'm like, well, what if people think I'm psycho because I'm walking a cat? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I guess I'm just wondering, is that sounding crazy, or is that like something you'd be like, yeah, of course I'd do that? Do you know what I'm saying?
No, there's people that walk their cats in my neighborhood.
Right?
And ferrets.
Hey, I'm not psycho.
There's a ferret. Yeah. No. If you go, I think, what's his name? The cat, what is his name? Jackson Galaxy or something? They create all kinds of, like, safe environments for cats outside. So if you have, like, a little porch or something, you can actually create, like, a zone for them where they can actually get outside without actually leaving your backyard. I thought that was quite cool and clever. But, yes, and ID tags are great for cats as well. Don't forget to ID your cats.
Oh, my goodness. Did you hear that, Jem? You're getting ID'd, courtesy of Janine here. She's on my back putting a little ID. Now she's hiding. It's probably because I'm talking. So she's like, I'm hiding. I don't want to listen to this jazz. No, in all honesty, Janine, it was actually my pleasure. I've had an absolutely wonderful time. I think your products are fabulous. I think that it's wonderful that not only are they diverse, but they're also affordable and useful for most people. And I think that you're going to do fabulous as far as your product goes. I am coming, if not this weekend, I will be in town the weekend of the 24th of this month. So if you happen to be out and about doing a drum circle or drinking wine or dancing under the moon, count me 150% in. I would love to meet you in person. I would love to tout your product. I'll walk through the city of New York putting the stuff on me and being like, all right, she might use this for a dog, but we're going to ID Cindy this way. And we'll try to get that glow thing going because I'm all about the glow.
And my little tags go nicely on backpacks.
I love it. That's absolutely awesome. Did you hear that, folks? We'll just walk through New York City, find people in Times Square with backpacks, and be like, you need an ID tag. Let's see how many we can sell in one afternoon. No, I don't think so. Times Square scares me, too. Everything in New York scares me. It's true. But I don't want to forget a couple of things here. So first of all, to you, Janine, thank you so much for taking the time and the trouble to come on the show and putting up with my antics. I truly, truly appreciate this, and I hope that I've done you proper justice. Thank you.
This was a great time. Thank you very much.
Really? And we don't want to forget about thanking, what's her name? Oh, yeah, Dana Humphrey. I'm kidding, Dana. I love you. Janine was absolutely wonderful. You need to, get her in a movie and, hook her up with Jorge and about 5 of your other clients. That's just me talking now. So, Janine, please stay in touch. I look forward to hopefully seeing you in the Big Apple and, of course, seeing your product all over the world if I have anything to say about it. And certainly, if you want to come back anytime, you have an open-door invitation to the show, so please use it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
All right, my dear. Well, you have yourself a nice afternoon.
You too. And great talking
Thank
to you.
you.
And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Sounds great, dear. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Janine, folks. I want to go through the ways to contact her once again. Her name is Janine. Last name is spelled Berger. She does have a personal Facebook page, and also her company is on Facebook, which is Twigo, Twigo Tags. Again, Pinterest, YouTube, website being www.twigotags.com. Don't want to forget to mention the 3 stores, one of which is in Rhode Island, which is called Fetch Rhode Island. You can purchase the tags there. Pupcakes, and also Chow Bow Wow. So do make sure to seek out her products and obviously become a fan as much as I am. Once again, thanks so much to Dana. Heads up, 10 minutes, I'll be right back on the air talking to Jonathan LaGrosse, and he happens to be the founder of a product called Paw Parks New York City. So do join us at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time for my next show. Thanks, folks.
All you need is love.
We love the Beat Bugs. And Target is the only place you can find them and all their gear. Come join the fun and jam with us.
Love is all you need.
What you doing? Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop! At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.